Dear students, welcome to Institute for Humanities. Let us take our journey for CUET PG further. So today I will give you some basic conceptual clarity on liberalism and what are the focus areas from the perspective of the objective type questions. So now let us start. So you know that liberalism is the most dominant ideology and in a way the oldest surviving ideology, and why so? Because of its liberal character. Liberalism is also called as end of history by a famous scholar you must be knowing, the Francis Fukuyama. However, in present time, liberalism is going through a huge crisis. Why? Because there is a rise of right as well as left in the Western world. So, liberalism is a philosophy in the Western world, and liberalism is not just a philosophy, it is their way of life. So, what you are supposed to know about liberalism? You should know that liberalism emerged as a result of Reformation and Enlightenment that has liberated man from the clutches of feudalism as well as the orthodoxy of the church. So, liberalism aims at autonomy of individual. Liberalism has evolved into different stages. The first stage of liberalism, which is the original liberalism, is now called classical liberalism. Classical liberalism is also known by the laissez-faire state because political philosophy revolves around the state, and the important scholar of classical liberalism in terms of political philosophy is John Locke. If you want to know political economy, then Adam Smith. After this, we know that liberalism supported capitalism, and capitalism resulted into huge inequalities of income and wealth, giving rise to the socialist challenge, which compelled liberals to change their ideology, and thus emerged the welfare liberalism or positive liberalism or modern liberalism. The scholars of modern liberalism are T.H. Green. The scholars of modern liberalism are Lasky. We have seen the idea of welfare state, and this concept became very popular after the Second World War because most of the capitalist economies were facing problem. But towards 70s, once again the welfare state started showing its problems like fiscal deficit, and the neoliberalism has emerged. Scholars like Hayek, Milton Friedman again called for rolling back of the state. The other prominent neoliberals include Nozick, Milton Friedman. You should be knowing about their core ideas and their works. And in our times, once again, against the neoliberalism, which can be defined as a philosophy of rolling back of the state, emerged libertarianism or social liberalism, which again revives the concept of welfare state. The scholars like Rawls, Durkheim, Amartya Sen, Martha Nussbaum and others are there. So from exams point of view, you should be knowing the core principles of different schools of liberalism, their prominent exponents, their prominent works and their key concepts. Suppose if you are studying Amartya Sen, you should know the capability approach. If you are studying Nozick, you should know what is entitlement theory. If you are studying Berlin, you should know value pluralism. So now let's have a quick look for your guidance. So classical liberalism from 17th to 19th century, as told, it is against church, monarchy and feudalism. The scholars like Bentham, who gave greatest happiness of greatest number principle, John Locke, who gave the theory of natural rights, Voltaire, who is known for his freedom of speech and expression, and Adam Smith, whose key concept was the invisible hand. So, explore more to understand these concepts. And then modern liberalism, which revolves around the idea of positive liberty. So, what is positive liberty? It has to do with capacity building. So, what is that? Addressing the deprivation. Who can address the deprivation? State. Fine. So, J.S. Mill is on the point of transition from classical to modern. T.H. Green is known as father of modern liberalism because he is the first person to define the concept of positive liberty. John Rawls and Dworkin in contemporary times, they have re-established the importance of welfare state. Rawls is famous for his difference principle and Dworkin is famous for his idea of resource egalitarianism. Now, libertarianism, because of overarching power of a state, states became unsustainable. So, Hayek is known as father of neoliberalism. His idea is that market is a huge central nervous system and he says that any kind of social justice is a mirage, and he suggests that we should promote the free market economy, and he is a major critic of planning, and his famous statement is planning is serfdom. Now, Isaiah Berlin was very much against totalitarianism, and so he says that only negative liberty is liberty because positive liberty leads to totalitarianism. On Isaiah Berlin, you should know that he is the second person in liberalism after Mill to talk about liberty in detail. Milton Friedman, the uniqueness of this thinker who also got the Nobel Prize is that he held that not that you require freedom for market, actually you require market for freedom, and without capitalism freedom is not possible. And Nozick, the entitlement theory, where he has revived the idea of the state, or you can say which is minimal state, which he says inspiring as well as right, and the Lockean idea of absolute right to property, which you say the theory of possessive individualism, and then the neoliberalism. Neoliberalism at times is often confused with neo-rightism because the thinkers and scholars are overlapping. If you see Thatcher and Ronald Reagan, Thatcher belonged to the Conservative Party and Ronald Reagan was US President who belonged to the Republican Party, which in their local language are called as neocons, means neo-conservatives. So, at times like neo-conservatives, they may not be very much in favor of other freedom, but they are for absolute right to property. So, at times it is difficult to distinguish. So, I believe that you will study further on these points to build your knowledge over these basic concepts, and just have a look on these people. This is John Locke, father of liberalism, Bentham, father of utilitarianism, and Voltaire, his famous statement, I disapprove of what you say, but I will defend to the death your right to say. And now some contemporary people. Now J.S. Mill, his famous statement, over himself, over his body, person should be sovereign. This is T.H. Green, the Oxford idealist who gave the concept of positive liberty. This is John Rawls, everybody knows, the author of A Theory of Justice, and Dworkin, the author of Sovereign Virtue and Resource Egalitarianism. And now Milton Friedman, whose book Capitalism and Freedom I told, Isaiah Berlin, who wrote 4 essays on liberty, and the Robert Nozick, whose famous statement is minimal state is inspiring as well as right, and who is a author of Anarchy, State and Utopia. So, the neo-rightists, neocons, Margaret Thatcher, which led to Thatcherism, and Ronald Reagan, who started Reaganomics in USA. I hope this discussion will give you some insight and you will read further on these lines. Thank you.